أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We're doing Surah 99, Surah Zilzal, followed by Surah Adiyaat, and then we conclude with Surah Al-Qariah. So we start with Surah Zilzal on page 1771. إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا, when the earth is shaken to her utmost convulsion and the earth throws up her burdens, and man cries, what is the matter with her? On that day will she declare her tidings, for that thy Lord will have given her inspiration. On that day will men proceed in company sorted out, to be shown the deeds that they have done. Then shall anyone who has done an atom's weight of good see it, and anyone who has done an atom's weight of evil shall see it. So this verse is obviously, the main thrust of this verse is to remind us of our accountability, that there will come a day and time where the earth will end and that we'll stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and account for our actions. So once the life on earth terminates, and it will terminate as a result of a violent quaking, right? In other words, there'll be some sort of commotion in the earth, and as the other verses describe, it will be quite a traumatic event for men. If you look at Surah 22, verse 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, also give very interesting descriptions of what will happen on that day. Right? And then وَأَخْرَجَتِ الْأَرْضُ أَثْقَالَهَا, and the earth throws up her burden from within. So this could be due to several factors, and something to think about is the first interpretation is obviously that everything in the earth is now thrown up, or referring to the fact that the graves are not turned upside down and man is given life again. But secondly, declaring her burden may be through expelling the earth's contents, right? Due to the high levels of environmental pollution, and as a result of this, it will actually cause or contribute to a serious earthquake or serious environmental harm and cause imbalance in the earth and bring about an end to the earth as we know it. But what we do know is that it will be quite a violent ending to life on earth as we know. وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا, and man cries, what is the matter with her? So in other words, there's something happening here. There's this reaction by the earth, and it's an earthquake, etc. It's traumatic. وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا, man asks or man cries, what is the matter with her? يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. So the earth on that day will she declare her tidings. Now, what does declare her tidings mean? يَوْمَ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ أَوْحَى لَهَا, for that your Lord will give her inspiration. So when we look at the word inspiration, it's applied to the bees as well. Allah says, وَأَوْحَى إِلَىٰ رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ, that it is your Lord who has given inspiration to the bees. So the bees act and behave in a certain way and communicate, etc. That's given to them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, the skin will be given the ability of speech to provide with testimony. Now, it's not speech in the sense that as we know speech, it may not be in the sense that we know it. It may be in a different sense, but the fact is that the evidence will be given, and that's important. So in the same way, the earth will declare her tidings as well. Now, what is the earth's tidings? And I understand the earth's tidings to be is all those deep, dark secrets that man stores in the earth, right? And it's symbolic of the fact that everything will be exposed. So if you take some of the deepest, darkest secrets that are stored in the earth, a lot of questions went unanswered historically, etc., where mankind are inquisitive to know what the actual truth behind those various circumstances or those various events were. Nothing is told to us. An example is 9/11. All of us would like to know what really happened at 9/11. There's just allegations of destruction of documents that would have held certain people in high offices accountable, etc. There's the burning of the documents when Gaddafi was killed, etc. So I think all of those secrets of the earth that men conspired to keep away will now be exposed. So the overriding message of this is that all of the secrets which you were bent to keep away from your fellow humans, to escape accountability, all of this is going to be revealed by the earth itself. بِأَنَّ رَبَّكَ وَحَالَهَا. On that day, يَوْمَئِذٍ يَشْتُرُ النَّاسُ أَشْتَاتًا. On that day will men proceed in companies sorted out. Now this term ashtata is quite interesting. It means diverse groupings. So it could be the groupings of the righteous and the unrighteous. And within the righteous there is, there's ranks, and within the unrighteous there may be certain ranks as well. Or as Muhammad Asad states, men will be cut off from each other. Human beings will be cut off from each other. So in other words, you as an individual will be held accountable, or you will be held accountable as an individual, not as a group, right? So Surah 6 verse 94 is quite interesting as a cross-reference there, talking of individual accountability. It's on page 315 of the Yusuf Ali translation. And behold, you come to us bare and alone, as we created you for the first time. You come to us bare and alone, as we created you for the first time. You have left behind you all the favors which we bestowed upon you. We see not with you your intercessors, whom you thought to be partners in your affairs. Right? Now, this actually thwarts two concepts. One is that we will be saved by someone, and two, of this group accountability. We will be accountable as individuals, and there's no this concept of shafa'at. If you look at this here, Allah says, وَمَا نَرَى مَعَكُمْ شُفَعَاءُ. We see not with you your intercessors. So we mustn't be disappointed on the day of judgment when we get up and we face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we say, I'm waiting for our intercessor, be whatever pious people we may want to call upon. No one's going to be there. Allah is saying, whoever you sought to rely on, right? زَعَمْتُمْ أَنَّهُمْ فِيكُمْ شُرَكَاء. Now obviously this is, I think the immediate context would be in talking about evil people, where they conspired as a partnership together, right, in camaraderie to do wrong. Allah is saying, you guys are all together. On the day of judgment, you're all alone. You individually before me, and you as a group will not be able to bail each other out at all. So one does show the individual accountability, and two is that no one will be able to bear the burden of another. In other words, this concept of intercession being understood to be where someone can bail you out for your ill deeds, etc., just doesn't exist in the Quran. So if you look at Surah 31 verse 33, there are categorical verses telling us in the Quran of the fact that we will be held individually accountable, and no one can share in our burden. So Surah 31 verse 33, I think is a lovely example, and there's many other verses as well. But Surah 31 verse 33 says, Ya ayyuhan nasu ttaqu, O mankind, do your duty to your Lord and fear the coming of a day, yawma la tajzi walidun an waladih, right? And fear the coming of a day when no father can avail aught for his son, nor a son avail aught for his father. Verily the promise of Allah is true. Let not then this present life deceive you, nor let the chief deceiver deceive you about Allah. So we mustn't get deceived by the fact that some may want to invite this concept of shared accountability, or that someone can bear our responsibility, etc. Allah says, fear a day when no father can avail a son, nor a son can avail a father. In other words, Allah is saying the closest tie you have is of parenthood, and even that tie will not be able to avail you of your ill deeds. So if you did wrong, we're going to account before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if you did right, we're going to account before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's these concepts like if the son becomes a hafiz, then the 7 generations go to heaven. That clearly again is thwarted by this verse as well. But many a time you find people, the son becomes a hafiz or the daughter becomes a hafiza, and you think, hey, you know what, my jannat is sort of guaranteed. There's no such a thing. Just go 31, 33 and keep reminding ourselves about it, because we don't want to be surprised on the Day of Judgment when the verses of the Quran are so clear that those things don't exist, right? And we will be held accountable for our deeds. And this is what Surah Zilzal, the bottom line of Surah Zilzal is, right? يَوْمَئِذِ يَصْدُرُ النَّاسُ أَشْتَاتًا. Men will proceed to be shown what? لِيُرَوْا أَعْمَالَهُم. To be shown their deeds. In other words, there's no getting away from the fact that your deeds are the product of your end in Jannat or Jahannam, right? Are the basis of your entry. It's not just the mercy of Allah, it's not the calling of the Prophet ﷺ or any pious saint, it's your a'mal. لِيُرَوْا أَعْمَالَهُم. And we go through a few verses now. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ. Then shall anyone who has done a speck of good shall he see, and anyone who has done a speck of evil shall see it as well. So in other words, you know what, let's not think that, small faults are okay and all of that. Allah says, if you do a speck of evil, you will see it. Now, there's obviously this thing about Allah's forgiveness, right? And I think the best way of summarizing Allah's forgiveness is that there has to be 3 or 4 aspects. And the one is the istighfar, where we acknowledge our wrongdoing. The other one is the tawbah, where we turn to Allah. The third one is the islah, where we set right what we done wrong. And equally important is, I think if we look at Surah 16 verse 32. Sorry, that's okay. Just talking about A'mal. Surah 16 verse 32. So again, here you can see the importance of A'mal, right? Page 664. I want to go to another cross reference after this. الَّذِينَ تَتَوَفَّاهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ الطَّيِّبِينَ. Namely, those whose lives the angels take in a state of purity. يَقُولُونَ سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ. Right? Saying peace upon you. أُدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةِ. Enter Jannah. بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. Enter Jannah because of your deeds. In other words, your deeds are the determining factor of whether you earn Jannah, whether you get Jannah or Jahannam. So, in other words, it's earned, right? Then, Surah 11, verse 114. So obviously, we want to talk about how do we get rid of our evil deeds. Right? And the answer is given here in Surah 11 verse 114. And establish salah at the 2 ends of the day and at the approaches of the night for those things that are good. In al-hasanati yudhibna sayyi'at. Indeed, the hasanat, the good deeds, the excellent deeds, erase the bad deeds. ذَلِكَ ذِكْرَى لِلذَّاكِرِينَ. Be that as a word of remembrance for those who want to remember. So in other words, if you really want Allah's forgiveness and these sins to be wiped away, then the only way it can be wiped away is if we work deeds of righteousness. We should erase the bad deeds. Okay. Then we go to Surah Adiyaat, Surah 100. Surah Adiyaat, the first 5 verses are read together, and I think in the context of the broader surah is talking about man's pursuit of economic gain through hostile means, right? Or his aggressive acquisition or pursuit for the acquisition of wealth or enrichment, which can be quite destructive. So if you look at the first 5 verses, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا, by the steeds that run with panting breath, and strike sparks of fire, and push home the charge in the morning, and raise the dust in clouds the while, and penetrate forthwith into the midst of the foe and mass. Truly man is to his Lord ungrateful. So Adiyat, the term Adiyat signifies fast pace, something of extremely fast pace, like a race, and it could also mean aggression, right? So, and this, I think one of the commentators make that point. So it points to war horses, and what was, if you take these first 5 verses, it seems to point to war horses. Now it's linked to verse 6 and to verse 7 and 8. And you take verse 8, and violent is he in his love of wealth. So in the context of this, I'm going to interpret it as these war horses. Now, what does a war horse signify? A war horses were an important part of society, obviously at the time of the revelation of the Quran. It's like the military might of a state, right? It's the potential, and it has the potential of abuse. Now you can imagine this pushing home, striking sparks of fire. It shows you extremely fast pace, raising up clouds of dust, etc. So the clear impression you're getting is that, I mean, these horses are like racing along, right? And because of this power and strength that this military force has, brings the potential for abuse. So Adiyaat signifies that. So what does the military strength with these fast-paced horses bring about? The greatness that man achieves through this, through employing these fast-paced natural forces made available to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to him. So the greatness that he achieves can be used for two things. It can be used either to restore social justice, or it can be used for taghut, for evil purposes. And verse 6, Allah has been critical of the abuse of these powerful forces made available by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to humans. And he says, truly man is to his Lord most ungrateful. In other words, man has available these resources, and instead of applying these resources to the establishment of social justice, what does he do? Verse 8, and violent is he in the love of his wealth. So they use these natural forces for the pursuit of gaining other people's wealth illicitly. You take, for example, many countries around the world, most wars are fought on what reason? It's never fought on the basis of social justice. It's fought on the basis of economics. It's either oil or gold or natural resources. You can see it in Africa daily. We experience that. We see what happens. And it's not any race or tribe. It's across the border. So Allah is being critical of that type of a human being who uses these natural resources bestowed upon them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to gain great power. But instead of using it for social justice, he abuses it. Right. وَإِنَّهُ عَلَىٰ رَبِّكَ لَشَهِيدٌ, and to that he bears witness. And violent is man in in his love for the acquisition of wealth. Now Allah describes the believers with similar language as well, with the word shadeed. And if you look at Surah 2 verse 65, Surah 2 verse 65 talks about وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. 2:165. So we're always talking about, love for our fellow beings, alhamdulillah, love for the Prophet, love for his family, etc. And there's no doubt those are all important. But when Allah talks about the love for him, he says, Amanu ashaddu hubba lillah. Now, so you look at verse 165, yet there are people who take for worship others besides Allah as equal with him. They love them as they should love Allah. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. So our love for Allah should be unique, it should be distinguished among our love for any other human, whether it's a prophet, a pious person, our family, etc. Our love for Allah, we need to speak more about our love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'd like to do a social experiment once and see what is the response from people at large when God or Allah is insulted. Right? We know what the reaction is when a pious person or a prophet is insulted, but do we have the same type of reaction in us when Allah or when God is insulted? Right? So we don't own God. The Arabic word is Allah. If God of any religion, in any religion is insulted, do we take serious umbrage to it? And I think we must ask ourselves this question: Amanu ashaddu hubba lillah. Do we really truly love Allah in this, intense manner as the Quran describes of believers? Verse 9, 10 and 11. أَفَلَا يَعْلَمُ إِذَا بُعْثِرَ مَا فِي الْقُبُورِ. Does he not know that when that which is in the graves is scattered abroad? Again reminding us that you can go about this earth and behave the way you want with all your power, but just bear in mind that when the graves are scattered, in other words, when the graves are scattered abroad, when people are given life again, and that which is locked up in human breasts is made manifest. So the point of the surah, again, like the previous one, is to say, like the earth will be given inspiration to talk all her secrets, right? The human, what's in the human heart, mind, stored away there that no one knows about, right? All of those secrets are also unlocked, unveiled on the Day of Judgment. أَفَلَا يَعْلَمُ إِذَا بُعْثِرَ مَا فِي الْقُبُورِ وَحُصِّلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. And that which is in the human mind or the sudur is now exposed. So there's no getting away. So Allah says, live with this reality, knowing that everything is going to be exposed on the Day of Judgment, right? So when they go about and they say, our objective is really is to bring about peace, but their objective in truth is to bring about turmoil, that the sudur will reveal all of that on the Day of Judgment. Because whatever is in the sudur, whatever true intention is, will be shown on the Day of Judgment. Inna rabbahum bihim yawma idhin la khabir. That their Lord has been well acquainted with them that day. So showing the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that we will be held accountable. Okay, then Surah 101, Al-Qariah, not much to say here. Again a reminder. So these surahs towards the end are all aimed towards one thing, to conscientize the believer, to conscientize the reader, that you're going to be accountable on the Day of Judgment. Live with that reality. So it's repeated so often in many different ways. So it wants to correct our behavior by reminding us of the fact that we'll account to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes I ask myself that my behavior, our behavior should reflect our behavior should reflect our belief in the year after. In other words, if we behave badly, then do we really believe in the year after? Do we really believe in that we held accountable before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So Al-Qari'ah, Mal-Qari'ah, the day of noise and clamor. What is the day of noise and clamor? And what should explain to you what the day of noise and clamor is? It is a day whereon people will be like moths scattered about. That's quite frightening. Imagine, you know what, sit at night and read this verse to yourself and say, you know what, it's a day where we be like moths scattered about. I mean, here it is. There's no turning back. There's no going back and say, give me a second chance. There's no saying astaghfirullah on that day and asking Allah for forgiveness and giving extra charity or whatever. It's finished, right? يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ كَالْفَرَاشِ الْمَبْثُوثِ. And the mountains will be like carded wool. So when we look at the mountains, we think the earth, stability, etc. Yes, and it seems like it's going to last forever. If you look at the mountain, I mean, you look at the Drakensberg mountain alone, you think, can this thing ever collapse? It's impossible. It runs like hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, and it's so strong, it's stable, it's part of stabilizing the earth. It's never going to sort of disappear. But when the reality says, Allah says, in the mountains will be like carded wool, now you start thinking to yourself and you cast your mind back to the previous generations, the Ad, the Thamud, and we see that when those forces came, those natural forces came of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they destroyed the other natural forces which were keeping things stable. So it's just again a reminder for us to say, you know, act in accordance with the divine instructions, because eventually you're going to be held accountable before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. Then he whose balance of good deeds, again, good deeds, goodness, the balance, the weight will be heavy. Now, how does the weight get heavy? The weight gets heavy because there's something happening in there. In other words, it's becoming filled with actions. So again, the reminder of the Quran is that you will be judged based on your actions. Then he whose balance of good deeds will be found heavy will be in a life of good pleasure and satisfaction. But he whose balance will be found light, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. Now, nice practical descriptions that, you know, the scales of justice. If you go into any lawyer's office or any court of justice, you'll find the scales of justice, the balance. And Allah is reminding us, if that side goes too much, this side is little, you're going to have a problem on the Day of Judgment. Then another verse, just to remind ourselves of Allah's mercy, is Surah 11 verse 114. Surah 6 verse 160. Page 338. مَنْ جَاءَ بِالْحَسَنَةِ فَلَهُ عَشْرُ أَمْثَالِهَا. Now we can see the mercy of Allah here, right? That Allah is making it easy for us to multiply, to get to heaven, right? He's multiplying our good deeds for us. He that does good shall have 10 times as much to his credit. وَمَنْ جَاءَ بِالسَّيِّئَةِ, and he that does evil shall be recompensed إِلَّا أَمْثَالُهَا, according to that action, according to his wrongdoing, or according to his evil. No wrong shall be done unto any of them. Now this is very different from saying that you'll get 10 rewards for every one good deed, and you'll only get one sin for every bad deed. No, Allah says, Amthaluha. It's based on the type of evil. So for example, if you've got a person like Pharaoh, or abuses of human rights, oppresses the sector, or oppress thousands of people, you can't say it's only one wrong deed, so he's only going to get one sin. It's the weight of the wrong. So sometimes the wrong can be so great and the weight is so heavy that it outweighs all of the good that you've done. Ya Allah is making it easy for us to get to heaven, but at the same time He's saying if you do evil and the weight of that evil is so heavy, don't think you're going to get away with it as well. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ, then Allah says, but he whose balance will be found light, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ, will be in the flaming pit. So what's this bottomless pit? Right? It's Jahannam, but فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. The word is very interesting. The word is mother, and mother is associated with nurturing. Someone who really cares for you. Someone whose lap you lie on. Right? So Allah is saying, you're going to lie in the lap of the bottomless pit. And it's really frightening for us. And again, it should be used to explain to people that this is a reality of Allah's punishment. But it's a reality of Allah's punishment, and we should remind ourselves that if we abuse people, human rights violations, these massive wars that take place where there's untold amount of misfortune, etc. You look at Syria, Yemen, etc. The people who are causing these wars and playing a part in it are not going to get away with it. So they should be concerned about these verses. فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. That when you cause so much of misfortune and hardship, you can create as much spin as you can in this life and come out and say, we weren't doing this and we were actually trying to bring about peace. But when the sudur is revealed, and we should speak about this to the politicians, to the powers and be, when the sudur is revealed, you're not going to have a chance. So you know what, let's rather strive for peace now. Let's not present reasons and excuses to justify the massive amount of tumult and oppression, but rather use these verses to conscientize people that look, we're going to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you know what, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ, you're going to lie in the lap of hell. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ, and what will explain to you what this is, نَارٌ حَامِيَةٌ, it is a fire blazing fiercely. Okay, Jazakallah, you can go on for questions and comments.